us Ryan's story to start with.
Well, basically, before Ryan was diagnosed, I mean, we've got a really strong bond and we're really close. We had a lot of difficulties from young age. School was never a happening thing. He was just so frustrated all the time. I didn't understand, I thought he was just being a normal child, and nobody seemed to understand what was really going on for him. School was happening, no, it wasn't happening, and so he didn't have any friends. He felt lonely. When he'd get really anxious, he'd get really violent. I just thought he was being really naughty, because that's what everybody was saying. He's being naughty, you should be disciplining him more. Ryan and I became so exhausted. We were just battling each other all the time. It was like a battlefield. You didn't know when the next explosion was going to be. I couldn't go out and have a cup of coffee, something would happen and I'd have to drop what I was doing. Everything before he was diagnosed was, I didn't have a life for me. I had no space for me. And for me, I felt that, he's my child. You have children, you put everything into your children, you put all of yourself into your children. But with Ryan, it was more than that. It was 3,000%, and
You knew it was different.
I knew he was different from an early age. I just didn't know what. And we just kept going day to day. I was doing what professional, like parenting programs. I do what they suggest. And
what kind of help did you have? What kind of advice and programs did you have?
I went through Bernardo's parenting programs. I went through, I think it was a LifeWise parenting program. Different suggestions. I went through counselling to try and help me with him, with Ryan. I got to a point where I ended up on medication to help keep me calm so I could deal with Ryan, so we could deal with the situations, because I was losing it big time. And I became depressed because I was losing it with my child, and I didn't know why I was losing it with my child so badly, because I didn't know how to control him. I didn't know how to deal with him. I put him into care. I ended up having to put my son into care because I didn't know how to cope anymore.
How old was he then? About?
Just before he turned 7. He'd been about 6 and a half. At school he was biting the teachers, kicking the teachers, the pupils. I hadn't even left the school grounds after dropping him off, and so we were together basically 24/7, a lot of the time, and that was just, it was too much. School actually helped me at that point contact SIFs, and eventually we got him into SIFs. He was there for 2 years. His caregivers became exhausted. He eventually came home to me and was like, oh yeah, I've done this community skills course, at Unitech, I can do this. I was like just still disciplining him like a normal child for his age, and I couldn't go to work, couldn't go to school because he was struggling at school. He didn't understand the teachers at school, but he didn't understand why he didn't have friends either, because of how it was for him. He struggled his whole life.
Can you tell us about getting the diagnosis, how that all happened? How did you find out about it? What happened?
I met Ryan at Child, Youth and Family with the police, and I left them there because I just couldn't take him home. I just couldn't do it. This was the last straw, and that was on the Tuesday. So he was hanging around at the SIF's office every day. Friday, Valerie's actually gone in and actually spoken with him and has put forward a caregiver for him to go to. And then I think a few days later I found out about the diagnosis.
What was that meeting like with Valerie? Can you tell us about that?
I felt like overwhelmed, but I felt really like a weight had been lifted off my shoulder. Finally, a diagnosis. You know, I don't like kids being diagnosed with this, this or this, but for Ryan, there was something there, and it needed to be. He needed to be diagnosed in order to be able to move forward, to try and work with him, to help him. And so, I was just grateful, absolutely grateful. Gutted in the fact, and I felt really guilty that I was the one that caused it in the first place. And then I actually went into counselling to be able to help me deal with my feelings, and my therapist really helped, me to come to terms with, this is what's happened, this is what you do next.
What differences started happening for Ryan after all of that, and you, between Ryan and you?
Valerie gave me some strategy. She gave me a little booklet to read, and so I read that. I went online and got some information, and she also just said to me, you speak in a quiet, like I speaking to him in a quiet tone, not too many demands, 1 to 2 instructions at a time, and if he's in that mood, just don't even reason, just let it be. If he wants that space, just let him be. Whereas before I wasn't doing that. It would be do as I say, this is what's going to be done, it's going to be done now. And Valerie's taught me to just sort of like come down to his level, like he's a toddler type of thing, and less is best.
Did you have to change things in the house? Anything in the environment?
What I've had to learn for me not to do is change the furniture around. That was a huge, he could not handle it. His room, I will not touch his room, that is his room. I've been tempted to, but I have to leave it alone because it's his space. I have to respect that. Whereas before it would be, whatever, I'm just going to go and change it, stuff like that. And now it's like, no, he doesn't like change. I mean, I knew he didn't like change anyway, but now I know there's a reason why. And so I respect that, more.
What about working with other people, other professionals, other caregivers?
Like with his caregivers, because he was with his caregivers for 2 years. I worked in with what they were doing at their place to try and keep it consistent across the board so he wasn't unsettled. But the more time he spent at home, I kind of found it just a little bit hard to sort of keep it to the same as what they were doing, because we don't have the caregivers, in the schools, they can take kids out on activities, they can take them here, they can do this and they can do that, they've got a vehicle. And there's technology that's accessible within the school and the home. So at home, when he came home, it was like, we've got no car, we've got no technology. We've got, we had none of what he was used to having. So it's been, for Ryan, it's been really difficult on that. He's had to learn to readjust. It's a lot harder at home to follow through with what, school and the other caregivers do, because it's all, everybody works differently. And I found at home, I didn't have those resources, it was just me, It's not going to be the same as outside that, inside that square. I've got to think outside the square for us.
Overall, getting the diagnosis and the advice has made a big difference.
It has made a huge difference. He is so much more settled. Ryan is so much more settled. When Valerie came on board, I was like, oh my God, thank you. And then when she started talking to and working with the school and SIFs, they were working with me. It wasn't just me working with them, we were working together. We became as one, and I just felt validated. I just felt, yay, finally, I'm being heard. Because I didn't feel I was being heard before.
What does the future hold?
I feel that the future is looking brighter. so much brighter. Ryan's going to get a job that he's going to be interested in. We're going to work with him to his abilities. He's going to, you know, be within the disability services, but something that he's going to like doing. I think the future is going to be really good for Ryan with all the right supports and services in place.
Anything else that you'd like to say? Is this something else that you'd like to make a statement about? Or?
No matter what the struggles are in life with your child, you know, or your children, with this, going along the journey, it's hard, but don't give up. Never ever give up.